My brothers and sisters, there seems to be something in our human nature that for many of us inclines us to procrastination. We experience this from the time we're small children. Those of you who are parents, I'm sure, have had this experience once or twice, where your child comes to you and says, I have a school project due tomorrow, mind it's 9 o'clock at night and everything is closed. And those of us that are honest enough with ourselves remember when we did this to our parents when we were children. We knew about the project for weeks or even months, and yet because it was the sense of obligation, the sense of needing to do something that wasn't as exciting or fun as playing or other things we enjoyed, we kept putting it off, going right to the last minute. Because of course, in the last minute, everything magically falls together. Sometimes that works out. God is very much the God of the last minute. But oftentimes, things fall apart rather drastically. This sense of procrastination that so marks our human lives seeps into every corner. Think of your spiritual lives. Hopefully, many of us are living lives that are rich in that spiritual connection with God, coming frequently to Mass, making frequent use of the sacrament of reconciliation, and thus nourish and strengthen this relationship. But of course, there's those areas where we say, tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll add that extra time of prayer. Tomorrow I'll add that moment of reconciliation with this relative or friend that I've been putting off for such a long time. Because these obligations weigh on us. They take us from what we would rather be doing, and they stretch us in ways we would rather not be stretched. When we look at our spiritual life as a list of obligations, as things to do and things to stop doing, it's natural to focus on this way of thinking. It weighs on us. But this is not the spiritual life that God called us to. God, above all, calls us to a life of rejoicing. But rejoicing is only possible when we focus on that which we need to rejoice in, which is the love of God we received, which is the forgiveness of God we received, and more than even that, it's the glory that God comes to share with us. God doesn't come to say to us, fulfill this list of obligations for me. God comes to say to us, celebrate with me. Rejoice in my glory. Rejoice that I have shared this glory with you, that I have called you out of death, out of sin, out of darkness. God does all the work. What he asks of us is that we simply be prepared to receive what he has done for us. You see, the image of the wedding feast, we have this idea of those handmaids that needed to go out and buy the oil and trim their wicks and prepare the lamps. And yes, there are things we need to do in our spiritual lives. We need to make that time for God. We need to take away those things that keep us from relationship with him and with each other. We need to be faithful to times of prayer. But all those inspirations come from God's invitation. And all the growth within those movements come from that relationship with God. You see, it's what St. Paul tells us in the first reading. What God desires most for us is holiness. And holiness simply means sharing his life, sharing his friendship, being with him at all times. God is not coming to us with a school project to be completed. He's coming to us with freedom and light and joy. So today is a good day to examine. What are the excuses we've made? What are the things that motivate us to say, I'll put off till tomorrow on my relationship with God? And to set those things aside. Because, my brothers and sisters, when we're in school, we know when the deadline comes. But when it comes to life, every moment is a gift, and we never know which will be our last. So let us live each moment fully, and not put off till tomorrow what we can do today.